Hello, greetings and welcome to Me Too Personal Development Insights with Suvila, a program that is brought to you to share with you personal development insights in a simplified and clarified manner. I want to remind you that you can only improve the quality of life of a nation, an organization, or a family when the quality of life of its people improves. But the quality of life of the people can only improve when the quality of their choices improves. And the quality of the people's choices can only improve when they raise their level of self-awareness. But their level of self-awareness can only be raised to the extent of their personal development. And the extent of their personal development depends on the quality of insights that they get exposed to. Therefore, we are dedicated to bringing insights to you, quality insights revealing truth about human nature that will help you to finally meet yourself. In this life, it is important for you to recognize that if anything is important, if it matters, if it counts, if anything is worth it, then just know that it is hidden, and that includes yourself. But these personal development insights and many other personal development insights out there are coming to help you unlock yourself, meet yourself, maximize and manifest yourself so that you go out there and fulfill your purpose and maximize your destiny. And to take you through these insights, I am your host, Suvila Kaunda. Previously, we covered a very important topic, and it was titled Understanding Your True Source. And I had to start with that topic because it is impossible to know yourself fully without being able to trace your roots. Heritage is part of identity. No one can claim to know who they are in totality without even knowing where they come from. So we had to start with identifying your true source, and we called it that way because truly there's a true source where you come from. And the biggest conclusion that we drew in the previous teaching is this, that even though your body is from the soil, you yourself, you who lives in that body, you are not from the soil. So at least now you understand that you do not have to confuse yourself, your true self, with the body that carries you even as you carry out your mandate on earth. And today, I want to introduce another special topic. And the title for the message today is Understanding Human Nature. It's a follow-up of Understanding Your True Source. But we want to focus on understanding human nature. The Bible says that wisdom is supreme. Therefore, get wisdom. And in all your gettings, get understanding. In all your gettings, get understanding. Now, a lot of people possess understanding on a number of issues out there in life, a number of topics, but I can guarantee you, on this particular one, only a few people perhaps possess an understanding of why we are even called human beings. So I want to help you understand human nature by helping you understand why you and I are even called human beings. Maybe allow me to pose this question to you who is listening to me right now. Have you ever given it a thought? Why are you called a human being? I mean, why a human being? Why not a human doing? Or why not a human having? Have you ever thought about this yourself? Why are you referred to as a human being? Well, the answer is because what makes you and I human does not lie in what we have or what we do. What makes you and I human lies in who we are. So the nature of being human is in becoming. That's why it's important that you understand that being human actually has a lot to do with just being you, becoming something. In fact, in English, the phrase human being is what is called a present participle. This implies something that is ongoing or something that is continuous. That's what it means. This explains why when you pick an individual and you subject them to a body of knowledge that is consistent, say, with accounts for a prolonged period of time, guess who this individual becomes? An accountant. You get the same individual, subject them to a body of knowledge that is consistent with law for a prolonged period of time. Guess who this individual becomes? A lawyer. You get the same individual, you subject them to a body of knowledge that is consistent with engineering for a prolonged period of time. Guess who this person becomes? An engineer. You get the same individual, subject them to a body of knowledge that is consistent with medicine for a prolonged period of time. Guess who this individual will become? A doctor. That is to say that we human beings become whatever we consistently subject ourselves to. That's your nature, that's my nature. That's why we are called human being. The word being there implying you become what you consistently subject yourself. And this is why you must watch the environment that you subject yourself to on a consistent basis, because it ends up shaping you and shaping me. You therefore need to watch your environment. Well, let me give a practical example to give more context to this subject. I am blessed with a lovely marriage, a beautiful wife, and two amazing children. Now, when my children grow up, if I as the father have this deep desire to see my child become a medical doctor, and then what I do, I go out there and just do a research on how much medical doctors get paid at the end of the month. And once I gather this knowledge, and then I do an average, and then I come back home and put my son on a medical doctor's wage every month. So every month, whilst medical doctors are getting paid their wage, my son is also receiving an average wage of a medical doctor. My question to you is, does that make my son a medical doctor? The answer is no. What if I go a step further and I buy for my son an instrument that is called a stethoscope, that instrument that medical doctors hang around their neck, and then I bring it to my son and I tell my son, now you are on a medical doctor's wage, and every time you bath and you dress up, I want you to always put this instrument around your neck, because that's what I find medical doctors at the hospitals wearing around their neck. Does that make my son a medical doctor? Now that my son is on a doctor's wage and he has an instrument called a stethoscope around his neck, does it make him a medical doctor? Again, the answer is no. But what if I go a step further as his father and buy for my son a long white lab coat? So my son is, number one, on a medical doctor's wage. Number two, every time he dresses up, he has to hang this instrument around his neck, which is called a stethoscope. And on top of his dressing, he has to cover himself in a long white lab coat. Question, does that make my son a medical doctor? Again, the answer is no. Now pause for a minute. What mistake am I making? What error am I committing in my approach? Well, the mistake I am making is, as his father, I am focusing on externals, what we call extrinsic values. All I am doing is decorating my son with medical doctor's regalia or externals. That does not make my son a doctor. And if that remains the case, then guess what? I, as his father, must be available all the time for my son to continue enjoying these privileges. But you know what? If I can just encourage my son to just go and pay the price, endure the discipline, go through the process that it takes for my son to become a medical doctor for that period of time that is required, and then my son finally graduates and becomes this medical doctor, I, as his father, will not have to put him on a wage, on a salary. He's going to attract one. I, as his father, when my son becomes a doctor, do not have to buy for him an instrument called a stethoscope. He is going to attract one. And I, as the father, will not have to buy for my son this long white lab coat, because now that he's become a medical doctor, he is going to attract one himself. What am I trying to communicate? True success is success that happens within. You and I are called human beings because we must become it in order to attract the conditions that are associated with it. In other words, whatever you wish to become, focus on becoming it internally. Then you will not have to worry about manifesting it externally. It will find expression. I tell you the truth. Every human being on the surface of the earth is manifesting the real content of their mind. We are designed in such a way that the condition of your mind will always find expression in your outward life. We will see what you think about just by seeing what your life is reflecting. Now, this example I gave for my son, to some of you may sound silly, to some of you may sound funny, but this is exactly the approach that many of you are making in your life regarding various aspects of your life. Let me give an example. How is your approach to wealth, for example, the subject of wealth? Some people believe that for them to be considered rich or to be considered wealthy in this society, then they must be in possession of certain items. Some people go to the extent of borrowing money to buy cars and houses and clothes that will make them appear rich. They believe that you are rich when you are in possession of certain things. If that's your approach, you are decorating your life with things that are just fooling you that you are rich, when if you are not rich on the inside, you are just wasting money and you end up being indebted. My advice is go and focus on becoming wealthy, becoming rich internally. Read content and books that will shape your understanding on money, on finance, on wealth. Once your mindset becomes tuned to a wealthy mindset, becomes conditioned to start thinking like a wealthy person, guess what? The wealth will begin to manifest externally. Don't focus on decorating yourself externally. Focus on becoming wealthy internally. Then it will show. But this is also some people's approach to matters of business, even in workplaces. I see companies hiring workers, and all they do is focus on externals. You recruit people today and put them on a salary. After you put them on a salary, you give them what is called company uniform or company regalia, and they look like they are part of your company. But if you have not taken them through the process, the initiation process, where you train them, you take them through the company culture, company philosophy, company vision, company mission, they are not part of you. They look like they are part of you, but they are not yet part of you. People will only become part of you if internally they buy into the vision. This is how some of you deceived yourselves on your wedding day. You borrowed money to sponsor a wedding, and on that day, that man of yours looked like a husband in a tuxedo. Now, when you entered marriage, you realized you married a childish person, because yes, they look like they are a husband, but they are not yet one. They look like they are a potential wife, but they are not yet one. Because on that day, on that glorious wedding event, the woman looked fantastic in that wedding dress. When you enter marriage, you realize she wasn't ready for life after saying I do. In other words, whatever you wish to become in this life, make sure you become it internally. Then it will show externally. That's why you and I are called human beings. Stop focusing on what you have or don't have. Stop focusing on what you need to do or you don't need to do, and start focusing on who you need to become. Life is about becoming. As I conclude today's topic, I just want you to write down this conclusion, because the aim of this message was to convince you that we are called human beings for a reason. We are creatures that are prone to become. We become what we consistently subject ourselves to. If you want to become wealthy, subject yourselves to content to do with wealth. If you want to become a husband, subject yourself to content that will shape you into a better husband. If you want to become a businessman, you don't just claim it, Go and read business content, read biographies of business people that have made it. As you do that, you'll be catching that mindset. Once that mindset becomes the business person, you will be shocked that it will begin to manifest externally. Don't just go to a registration agency and register your business, collect the certificate, you buy a photo frame, put the certificate in the photo frame, then off you go and rent an office, you hang the certificate, and you go on Facebook and call yourself an entrepreneur. Well, you look like one, but you are not yet one. If you've not become it internally, forget about claiming that you have become it. This is what I had to share with you. But before I conclude, I would like to leave you with certain scriptures that just verify or confirm what I am just from talking about. Now, once you understand this topic, now you will understand why God tells the poor people never to say, I am poor. He says, let the poor say, I am rich. And now you understand why he said that, because he doesn't say, let the poor say, I have riches. There's a difference. When a poor person claims that they have riches, then they are lying. The reason why they are poor is because they don't have anything to point to. But he doesn't tell them to claim that I have riches. He tells them, let them say, I am rich. I am is a statement of conditioning. It begins to condition the poor person to believe and think that they are rich, even though there is nothing to show for it. But guess what? The moment they continue to make that confession, I am rich, it is conditioning them to think they are rich. And once they reach a stage where they believe they are rich, the riches will begin to manifest. Let the weak say, I am strong, not I have strength. There is a difference. A weak person confessing they have strength is a lie. But when they confess, I am strong, they are conditioning themselves internally to believe that they are strong, even though nothing about their body is showing any signs of strength. But if internally they confess it and believe that I am strong, guess what? The strength will begin to manifest externally. So whatever you want to become, condition yourself internally. You and I are called the human being because we are creatures that are prone to become. We become what we consistently subject ourselves to. Therefore, watch your environment, and whoever you wish to become, find a mentor who's already become that and allow them to, through their life, condition you to become that. Thank you so much for following this particular episode. We are here and we continue to bring insights on personal development, helping you discover the hidden you, maximize and manifest it. You have to fulfill your purpose and maximize your destiny, so that when you go and give an account before your Father in heaven, you will give an account purely based on your purpose here on earth. Thank you so much for following, and God bless you. I'll see you next time. Thank you so much.